Welcome to today's news on TV9. I'm Ava Cho. In today's local news, poverty advocates say the $78 billion valuation of the lifelong cost of benefits is scaremongering, while First Union is blaming the 90-day work trials are freezing the labour markets as well as adding to skill shortages. Opposition parties are calling for the sacking of John Banks over fresh revelations into his mayoralty donation scandal, but Prime Minister John Key is saying no. Christy Zhao reports.
ACT leader John Banks is once again in hot water over new revelations that his 2010 mayoralty campaign team drew up a list of 10 rich donors to target for $25,000 of donations each. According to documents from the police, internet tycoon Kim.com said Banks had asked him for 2 payments of that exact amount, so he would not have to declare where they came from. But despite that, Prime Minister John Key insists he won't be sacking Banks.
Look, he hasn't broken the law, and as far as I'm concerned, I've made my position pretty clear on that.
Key needs Banks for his vote on critical issues, but the Prime Minister says what is wrong is the law, and the whole scandal is a politically motivated attack from Labour.
Really where they should have put their political energies was changing the law. It's very, very broad and unworkable law, and that's why the government is changing it now. And if the Labour Party had cared that much about it, they would have changed it when they changed the law around central government rather than going on about it today.
John Banks has always maintained that he didn't know anything about the .com donations. The government is changing the law to cap anonymous donations to local election candidates at $1,500. Christy Zhao, 9 News.
Meanwhile, John Key is also being dismissive about a national hui on water rights. Christy Zhao has more.
Around 600 of Maoridom's A-listers and ordinary iwi members gathered at Taronga Wiwi Marae on the banks of the Waikato River yesterday for a national hui on water. The hui wanted a collaborative approach to protect Maori rights and interests over water, but Prime Minister John Key is dismissive of the idea.
Well, the government's made its position very clear. We don't think there will be there's a need for a national settlement. We don't think there's a need for a national hui. Water rights and interests are very much a localised issue, and actually that was confirmed by the Waitangi Tribunal.
Key says he wouldn't have gone to the hui if he was invited, and he will only listen to genuine rights and interests when it comes to water. The Waitangi Tribunal recommended that the government convene a national hui to discuss how it could recognize Maori proprietary interests in water and advance a concept called Share Plus, with shares in the SOEs being partially floated and some form of control by iwi. Christy Zhao, 9 News.
Finance Minister Bill English say a $79 billion valuation of the lifelong cost of benefits would be an important tool for confronting the long-term issue. But poverty advocates disagree. Christy Zhao reports.
A government commission valuation found that those on benefits last year will cost a total of $78 billion over their lifetimes. Almost half of that was expected to be on those who were on the domestic purposes or invalids benefits, and those who first went on a benefit as teenagers had a much larger expected lifetime cost. But poverty advocates criticized the study as a scaremongering tactic to get people off benefits.
I think the number is used in order to scare taxpayers about the cost of having people on welfare, and through scaring taxpayers they can bring out more extreme policies.
Policies such as drug testing beneficiaries and enforcing early childhood education, which Sarah Thompson says are unfair on people who aren't actually on benefits for life. But Prime Minister John Key says the valuation is a realistic attempt to look at the long-term liability for the country.
The government has put up a case very strongly that New Zealand needs a good welfare system, and I think we actually judge a society by the way we look after sick and vulnerable people. I also think that it's critically important that we don't make people dependent on the state.
Key says the government is doing everything to make sure welfare reform will assist people back into work, but Thompson is questioning even the availability of jobs for able-bodied people, and she says there's no point in trying to get people who are on the DPB and the invalids benefits to work. Christy Zhao, 9 News.
The government announced yesterday of their plan to close 13 Canterbury schools and merge another 18 in an overhaul of the education sector in the area. The $1 billion suite of changes will go towards the education in Christchurch, Soan and Waimakariri. Unemployment rate has reached an 18-year high in the June quarters, and First Union believes that the 90-day work trial is contributing to it, and it is also freezing the labour market. Amy Fong has more.
The 90-day work trial period was brought in last year, aiming to create more jobs by encouraging employers to take in more staff. However, unemployment rate in June this year has reached an 18-year high. Unionists believe that the 90-day trial policy is contributing to unemployment.
We say that because many workers are now scared to leave the job that they're in and get a better job, even a better paying job, because if they go to that new job and the 90-day law is there, that means any time in the first 3 months they could be sacked for no reason, and they have no comeback against that employer. So those workers are staying in their job. That means they're not moving further up the labour market, and that means that unemployed people, particularly young and school leavers, are unable to get into the labour market because people are staying in the basic entry-level jobs for much longer than what they used to.
The large amount of job losses is the main reason behind unemployment, especially in manufacturing. Robert Reid explains that manufacturing in New Zealand is costing too much due to New Zealand dollars being too high, and the government refuses to intervene to bringing it down. He is disappointed in the ignorance of the government.
One of the areas that our union was participating in was in the government procurement area. That means our government looking at how it might be able to buy more products locally in order to help the New Zealand economy. The government has completely ignored anything in that area, and that committee only met twice and is meeting no longer. This government is not interested in the unemployed people or in unemployment, and what's even worse, what it now does is actually start to blame unemployed people for being unemployed, and we have Paula Bennett who is now coming out with policy after policy to attack those who are unemployed rather than the government looking to give jobs to those unemployed people.
Currently in New Zealand, there are 162,000 people unemployed, and Robert Reid doesn't think that the 90-day trial is helping at all. Amy Feng, 9 News.
The Tech New Job Ad Index for August shows a 6.5% increase in job ads year on year. There was also an increase of 4.9% from July. Carpentry, marketing, brand manager and IT security jobs had the biggest increases in availability. The search is on for the next Kiwi superstar. Amy Shin caught up with one acclaimed ballet dancer in light of a highly anticipated TV show.
Don't let her young image fool you. At 27, Abigail Boyle has worn a tutu since she was 5.5 years old. The Royal New Zealand Ballet dancer has twirled her way to represent Head and Shoulders in a wildcard competition for New Zealand's Got Talent.
Because Head and Shoulders is sponsoring the wildcard, I'll get to see some of the acts in that on Saturday and also in Christchurch on the 23rd of September. So, yeah, it's really exciting.
Boyle looks relaxed on set, sharing her mindset as a dancer, as well as her plans for the future, which surprisingly does not include marriage and kids.
No, not yet. No way. Yeah, I'm young. If you're a professional dancer, you usually start when you're quite young. I know some people start when they're older, but I sort of don't really know what it would be like to not be a dancer, and I don't really want to think about it.
The youngest of 4 sounds humbled and down to earth, revealing her secret when the going gets tough.
Well, I know that when I'm upset, I had to fill out this form by saying, if I'm upset or if I'm feeling down, what do I think about that sort of brings me up. And so I know it sounds corny, but it's actually my mum's face smiling. I know that sounds really, corny and everything, but it's true, yeah.
Her talent runs deep, having been a part of many acclaimed performances, including Carmen and Sleeping Beauty. Amy Chen, 9 News.
Annual event Southside Arts Festival is coming up on the 12th of October till the 11th of November, releasing a series of great performances and artwork for Aucklanders, as well as promoting Auckland's vibrancy and sense of community. Amy Fong has more.
Southside Arts Festival gives opportunity for artists to showcase all their talents and skills. It aims to promote creativity and innovation that is unique to South Auckland. Auckland Mayor Len Brown is excited about the festival.
What we're expecting is stunning performances, a lot of fun, great artistic expression, something for everyone from right around Auckland to come and view and witness some of the great artistic talents and skills within the southern part of the region. So that's what we expect. Secondly, what we want from an outcome, just to have a sense that Auckland is a hugely multicultural community. We're very diverse and we celebrate our diversity, whether it is the way in which we perform on the stage, how we sing, how we dance, how we paint pictures, and also how we do fashion, so haute couture. Haute couture is awesome. You've got to get everybody who's Chinese come haute couture, they'll just love it. Great cutting edge fashion design.
Southside Arts Festival contributes to making Auckland one of the most livable cities in the world.
Livability is very much about tolerance and harmony and understanding and accepting our differences, and when you do that in art and express it in art and culture, then you're doing it out of love for your fellow man and womankind. And so this is very much a key part of driving the most livable city in the world.
For the past 4 years, Southside Arts Festival was held by the Manukau City Council, but this year, Auckland City Council has taken over.
It used to be called the Manukau Festival of Arts, and because the Manukau City Council disseminated, we're now Auckland Council, and it gives us an opportunity to spread it even wider than it currently is.
The festival will be happening on the 12th of October till the 11th of November. There will be 45 art events including theatre, fashion, dance, music and comedy. Amy Feng, 9 News.
Now we have our TV9 host from Asia Focus, Julian Nixon, to comment on Diaoyu conflict intensifies.
A territorial flare-up between China and Japan has intensified as Beijing sends patrol troops near disputed islands in the East China Sea. The arrival of 2 Chinese patrol ships off the islands is a way of asserting China's claims over the rocky islands known as Senkaku to the Japanese and Diaoyu to the Chinese. The islands have been the subject of claim and counterclaim over the centuries. The dispute has heated up in recent months, in part because the governor of Tokyo proposed buying the islands and developing them. The Japanese government announced its own deal this week with the Japanese family it recognises as the owner. About $32 million is being spent on the purchase. The response from Beijing has been strong, with Premier Wen Jiabao warning that China will never back off from its claims. This escalation in tension between the 2 countries is bad news for New Zealand. China and Japan are 2 of our largest trading partners. We'd rather they concentrated on reviving their economies so they can buy our products. But the outlook is worrying. The latest row escalated after a Chinese fishing boat crashed into a Japanese coast guard near the islands in 2010, resulting in the arrest of the Chinese captain. Fuel is now being added to the fire because the respective leaders of the 2 countries are coming to the end of their tenures. Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihiko Noda may be forced into an election as early as November, with his Democratic Party trailing badly in the polls. Meanwhile, China's Hu Jintao will be replaced as leader of the Communist Party in Beijing in October. Both risk significant blows to their pride and legacy should they lose ground on sovereignty before they go. Neither government can be seen to be weak-kneed, and therein lies the problem.
Thank you, Julian. Now let's take a short break and we'll be back shortly.